Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's business studies lesson. My name is Tsidiso Tlhaka, and this lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Phakama Research and Development. Today, we look into a topic we call business environment, or rather, a main topic I call business environment. And we'll be revising on paper 1 and focusing on the main topic we call the business environment, which is allocated 115 marks on the question paper should you choose question 2, question 4, and question 5 together with question 1. You will then have 115 marks on business environment. So this is a revision lesson that helps you to understand how section B questions are going to be asked and how section C questions can possibly be asked and what is the approach you should be having. So now let us look into our learning outcomes. What should we understand by the end of this revision lesson? Now, by the end of this unit, you should be able to know the structure of the paper for paper 1. You should also know the main topics that are assessed in paper 1. And remember, we have two main topics, the business environment and the business operations. Meaning, you are going to focus on business environment only. Then, we will then be looking into interpretation of section B and section C questions. Now, let us start with our first part, which is the structure of the paper. This is paper 1, and the paper is structured in this manner. It has section A, section B, and section C. So in section A, this is what will be assessed. Section A assesses compulsory short questions. And these compulsory short questions are allocated 30 marks. And the time you should spend answering your short questions is 20 minutes. And you should understand that in your section A, 15 marks will be from the business environment and another 15 marks will be from the business operations. And the types of questions that are going to be assessed under question 1, section A, and compulsory question. By the way, this is compulsory. You may not skip question 1 because it is compulsory. Everyone should answer. So you have 1.1, which is multiple choice, 1.2, which is choose the correct weight, and 1.3, which is matching items. And each of these questions is allocated 10 marks, making a total of 30 allocated marks for question 1, section A. Then the second part of the question paper is your section B. The section B has an instruction, grade 12s. It says to you, as you start your section B, choose any 2 questions. Meaning in section B, you have to answer 2 questions. Between question 3, question 2, question 3, and question 4. Meaning you have to answer how many questions? 2. Question 2 or question 3 or question 4. So out of these 3 questions, you are expected to answer only 2. Therefore, meaning you can answer question 2 and 3 or question 2 and 4 or question 3 and 4. Depends with your preference. And each question is allocated 40 marks. And since it is allocated 40 marks, the instruction is choose 2, meaning you will say 40 times 2 is equals to 80 marks allocated for section B. Therefore, an advice or knowledge is that question 2 will assess business environments for 40 marks. So what are we saying there? We are saying all questions under question 2 in your section B will be developed from the subtopics that fall under the business environment, which I'll be showing after the structure of the paper. And with your business environment, the subtopics that fall under the business environment include the impact of recent legislations, which is your acts. And then you also have business strategies and the sectors and their environments are assessed under question 2. But question 3 assesses business operations and only has 2 subtopics, which is quality of performance and human resources. Then miscellaneous, which is question 4. This is a question that combines 2 main topics, which is the business environment and the business operations. Therefore, meaning because the mark allocation for each question is 40 marks, miscellaneous therefore takes a structure of saying business environment will be assessed for 20 marks and business operations will also be assessed for 20 marks. And the time you should spend answering your questions, there should be 70 minutes. And that is how you should understand the structure of your section B. Now let us move to the understanding that we should all be having now to say, if you will be doing business environment, it means business environment is going to be assessed out of 40 in question 2 and it's going to be assessed out of 20 if you choose question 4. Therefore, you already have how many marks? 60 in section B on business environment. And you also have the last section, which is now section C. In section C, you have an essay type question, which is allocated 40 marks, and the instruction is choose one question. And what does that mean? They say choose one question because the section has 2 questions to be answered, or 2 questions in the section. Therefore, you are expected to choose one between question 5 and question 6. Question 5 is an essay question based on subtopics under the business environment, which can either be the impact of recent legislation or it can be the business strategies. Then question 6 is another essay question in section C, which is assessing business operations, and the essay there can either be human resources function or quality of performance. So you choose one. After choosing one, then you should know that the time you should spend in either answering question 5 or question 6 is 30 minutes. So that is the structure of your paper 1. Section A, compulsory, which is question 1. Question 2, question 3, question 4 is your section B, and you are expected to choose only 2. And then section C, you have an instruction, choose one, and you have 2 questions. You choose based on your strength. Now, let us look into the main topic. The main topics for paper 1 include business environment and business operations. The purpose of this revision lesson is to look into business environments and possible questions, and based on the examination guideline, to say how can you be assessed looking into the subtopics of the business environment. The business environment include the following subtopics. Number 1, the impact of recent legislation on businesses, which was taught to you in term 1, and then business strategies, which is also taught in term 1, and business sectors and their environments, which was taught in term 2. So basically you have 3 subtopics under business environment, and it means these subtopics are going to be assessed in question 2, in question 4, and in question 5. And we cannot leave question 1. Therefore, in question 1 is 15 marks. Therefore, in question 2 is 40 marks. And in question 4 is 20 marks. And in question 5 is 40 marks, making a total of 115, as I said. So this 115 will be based on the impact of recent legislation on the business, the business strategies, together with the business sectors and their environments. Now let me show you how they can assess you and how you should identify the solutions to the assessments. Now let us look into it. We start with now business environment typical essays, which you are gonna find in question 5. And I said question 5 will only focus on what? The subtopics under the business environment. So there's only 2 subtopics you should know for preparing for an essay. This is the impact of recent legislation, and this is your business strategies. Business sectors and their environments cannot be assessed using an essay type question because the content is narrow and it does not allow for an essay question. Now, the essay question can either be on the impact of recent legislation on the business or business strategies. Now, this is a typical exam question. This is how it will look in your question paper. It will be structured in this manner. Note, it doesn't mean this is the essay for what you will be writing, but this is the structure. This is extracted from previous question papers for practice purposes for you to be ready for the exam. Now, question 5. The first information you see here is what we call the preamble. This is the preamble. And what does it mean, grade 12s? We do not quote in the preamble. Any information in the preamble is not to be quoted. So note, do not, let me write it for you. Do not quote. Do not quote from the preamble. This is just information about the essay that you will be writing. Do not quote this information and use it as your introduction or as a fact in your body of the essay or as a fact in the conclusion of your essay. If you quote, you will be marked with the letter R. Why? Because you are repeating information on the question paper. There's no way information on the question paper can give you an answer that gives you marks. The question paper is there to question you so that you provide a solution or a response that gives marks. So now, the preamble, you need to read it because it would give you an idea on what the essay is about and maybe help you to remember some of the facts that you should consider when you are responding to your essay. Now, the preamble is read in the following manner. Businesses realize the importance of the strategic management process when devising suitable business strategies. Now, it gives you an idea to say, okay, this essay will be talking about what? The strategic management process. Some businesses maintain that Porter's 5 forces model plays an important role in remaining competitive in the business or in the market environment. Now, as I repeat, do not quote any information in the preamble. This is your focus area. Your focus area starts here. Write. Now, this is what is expected of you, to write an essay on business strategies in which you include the following aspects. You describe the strategic management process. That's number one. You describe the strategic management process. Based on what is on your notes, based on what is on your textbook, you are describing what it means. What is strategic management process? According to the notes, what is the process that is called what? Strategic management. So you describe the process. Then discuss 3 types of intensive strategies that the business may use to address challenges in the macro environment. So now you are responding to 3 types of intensive strategies. Thereafter, explain how the business could apply Porter's 5 forces model to analyze the market environment. You're explaining the application of the Porter's 5 forces model, and then advise businesses on effectiveness of diversification strategy. The effectiveness of the diversification strategies. And these questions are allocated 40 marks. Now, let us deal with how to answer an essay, grade 12 learners. This is how you answer an essay. Your essay, firstly, should have introduction, and your introduction should have ×2, meaning 2 points. Thereafter, you skip a line. After skipping a line, what is the first subheading from the question? The first subheading is describe the strategic management process. Then you describe the what? The strategic management process, to say the business has to what? Review the mission, vision, and check if objectives are realistic. The business has to identify strengths and weaknesses by doing what? By doing environmental scanning. And the business will have the following tools available for environmental scanning, which will include SWOT analysis, Porter's 5 forces, and PESTEL. Now you are responding to the first subheading after skipping a line with your 2 points under introduction. Then here you provide maybe 4 points ×4. Then 3 types of intensive strategies that the business may use. Discuss them. Then you discuss the 3 types, meaning you should have type number 1, type number 2, and type number 3. To say, with intensive strategy, what are we talking about? We're talking about market penetration. Market penetration. We are talking about market development. Then we are talking about what? Product development. Are we together, creators? So this is how you are approaching your essay. So by just saying market development, you get 2 marks. By just saying market penetration, or by just saying market penetration, 2 marks. By saying market development, another 2 marks. By saying product development, another 2 marks. And then you have to explain. The question says discuss, so you're going to name it first after you explain. I don't have space here. And then another one is explain how businesses could apply the Porter's 5 forces model to analyze the market. Even there, you're analyzing, so you can choose maybe 3 of the Porter's 5 forces model to say, okay, we have the first one as the power of buyers. Number 2, power of suppliers. And then number 3, we have power of competitors. Then advise the business on the effectiveness of the diversification strategy. Now here you're talking about the advantages. So the examiner sometimes can use the word effectiveness. By the word effectiveness, the examiner is looking for advantages of diversification. So you should know to say this question is looking for what? It's another way of asking for advantages of diversification. Then you give 1 times 1, meaning 1 point on what? Conclusion. Then your essay is complete. And how will you be marked? Because your essay has 2 points and you skip a point, you skip a line, there will be an L. Because your conclusion has 1 point, there will be an L as well. Then we start looking into how you responded. Then with that one, we say, okay, maybe the introduction, we give you 2 marks because the introduction is accurate. Then with strategic management process, we give you to say, okay, out of these points, you got all of these strategic management process points accurate. Therefore, you get 8 marks. Then let's say here you failed to explain the 3 types of intensive, but you were able to name market penetration, market development, and product development. Therefore, we give you 6 marks as I allocated. Let's say you were able to name the Potter's 5 forces as well: power of the buyer, power of the supplier, power of the competitor. We allocate 6 marks as well. And then let's say with the advantages, you were able maybe to remember 2, then we give you 2 marks, which is 4 in total, and then 2 marks for the conclusion, which is 2. So when we look into the final mark allocation, we say this is 2 plus 8, this is equals to 10, 10 plus 6, which is 12, then it makes it to be 22, then 22 plus 4, we say 22 plus 4 is 26, and then 26 plus 2 is 28, and then we say number of facts is equals to 28. Then we look into the subheadings, and then we look into the second one when marking, which is L, the layout, to say, is the layout having introduction, and did you attempt to answer the introduction? Yes, this learner attempted to write what? The introduction and skip the line. Hence, now there's an L here. So that's the first L. And did the learner attempt to write conclusion? Yes. Whether the introduction and conclusions are correct, the attempt to respond to the introduction and conclusion allocates you the free mark, which is now marked through the L here and the L here. And then you get 2 marks for that. Then you come to an A, analysis, to say, did the learner include all sub questions? Yes, we see the first sub question says describe, the second one says discuss, the third one says explain, and the fourth one says advise. Therefore, we give the first A, and then thereafter we say, did the learner obtain 16 marks and above? To analyze, to show that the analysis of the essay is accurate. Yes, the learner obtained 16 marks and above because the learner obtained 28. Then we say the second A. Then we have 2. Then we look into S. With the S, we are looking into what? The synthesis, to say, is the essay relevant based on what is on the learner responses? Yes, we see that the essay is relevant because all the attempts to respond to the sub questions are relevant to the questions that are being asked on strategic management, on the types of intensive strategy, on Potter's 5 forces, and on the advantages. Therefore, we give 2 marks. And then O is the essay. Is the essay having an example that was researched? The essay is not having an example, therefore you lose the mark. Then we say the total. Now the total will be 28 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Therefore the total is 34. Now that's how you should go about responding to your essay. Now Let us look into the second essay on now business environment as the main topic, but the subtopic is different. Remember I said the essay can either be on impact of recent legislation or business strategies. Now we are focusing on what? Impact of recent legislation. We have a preamble. What did I say about the preamble? I'm listening. What did I say? Do not quote. I repeat, do not quote. Thank you. I see you're listening. Now, the Consumer Protection Act, which is Act 68 of 2008, promotes consumer rights. The National Credit Act, which is Act 34 of 2005, was introduced to ensure that businesses address the needs of consumer credit market. These acts are beneficial to both the businesses and consumers. Therefore, you are an expert on consumer data. That's where your focus is now. What is expected of you? It says to you, you are an expert in consumer legislation. Write an essay on the following aspects. Number 1 is to write an essay where you are discussing 4 consumer rights according to the Consumer Protection Act. Okay. Number 2 is to explain the purpose of the National Credit Act, and then evaluate the impact of the National Credit Act on the business. Thereafter, recommend ways in which the business could comply with the National Credit Act. And then we say now to you, how should you go about it? Is this the correct format of answering? Should your essay have introduction and conclusion and the 4 sub-questions? Yes or no, grade 12? Talk to me. Don't think I cannot hear you. I hear you very well. So this is how your essay should be structured. It should have introduction, and I said under introduction we want ×2, which is the points. Whereafter you respond to your first sub-question, you respond to your second sub-question, you respond to the other sub-question, the third one and the fourth one, and then you have 1 point of the conclusion. So thereafter we say now in each of the sub questions, meaning you have 1, 2, 3, 4 sub questions. In each of the sub questions, you make sure that if it says 4, you give the 4 that is required, and then with the purpose you give a minimum of 4 as well, with the impact a minimum of 4, and with the recommend how to comply you give a minimum of 4 as well, because this will total to what? 8, 8, 8 and what? 8. And you remember you have 2 marks here and you have 2 marks here. So when you check, we say 8 plus 8 is 16, 8 plus 8 is 16, which is 32. Already is 32, and then you have 2, which is now 32 plus 4, which is 36. So already that goes to what? 32 maximum, because facts are allocated marks up to 32. So when we say 32 max is because you have obtained more than 32. Then we say, is the learner having introduction and conclusion, and did the learner write under introduction? Did the learner write under conclusion? Yes, the learner wrote the introduction. Yes, the learner wrote the conclusion. Therefore, we say L for that. L for writing the introduction and conclusion. The focus is not on whether the introduction is correct or the conclusion is correct, but is on whether the understanding of having a structure which has introduction and conclusion was complied with by the learner. So you get the free 2 marks for attempting to write the introduction and attempting to write the conclusion. Thereafter, we go to analysis to say, did the essay have 4 subheadings? Yes, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Then that is the first A. We allocate the first A. Then we check, did the learner obtain more than 16? Yes, we can see that the learner is obtaining 32. So another A. So you get the second one. Then you go to the S. Is the learner responses relevant? Yes, if they are relevant, therefore 2. Then originality, is there an example researched by the learner? If it's there, 2 marks. If it's not, 0. Then in total, what do you get? 38. So my advice on originality, go and research an example on each of these subtopics that you go through. For instance, for paper 1, business environment, question 5, go and research on an example you would find for legislations, a recent activity that took place maybe from a newspaper, and then also go and check for business strategies, so that when we get to originality, you obtain 2 and the total mark is 40, and avoid getting 38. So that's how you should go about it. Now we go to interpretation of section B, which is question 2, and this would also be understood as typical question 2 questions. Now, I will start with the most important action verb. The action verb we call identify. Now, you should know what would be expected of you to identify from the scenario. So, the following content has to be identified from the scenario or statement. Let's start.